So in this question, again, we have the same situation. The final is, and I'm just gonna now put 16.7 meters per second. Initial velocity is 0 meters per second. And now the question is again asking, this is t is 2.7 seconds. And the question is here, how far, which really relates to displacement. So if I look at the formulas, I could use the formula d equals initial velocity times time plus 1/2 at squared. Now, what is the problem with this equation, and is there a problem? Well, what I know initial velocity, I know the time. The question is, do I know acceleration? Well, maybe no, not directly, but we calculated that the acceleration is change in velocity over change in time, which in our case came up to be approximately 6.2 meters per second squared. And this was in previous questions. Previous question. So in this case, we could still use this, and we could say, well, the displacement is equal to initial velocity times time plus 1/2 at squared, and I could say it's 0 times 2.7 plus 1/2 6.2 times, and t squared would be in this case 2.7 squared, which in this case, if I calculate this, just give me a second. I need to get my calculator so I know it's 2. 6.2 times 0.5. If I have it all correctly, I am getting about 22.6 meters. That's my displacement. So this would be okay as one of the options. Option 1. Now, somebody may look at this equation and will be like, well, I know there is another one that gives me initial plus 2AD. Well, in this case, I know my final velocity. I know my initial velocity. Actually, acceleration I would have to again calculate. So could I use this equation? I guess I could. Again, I would have to rely on calculation of this value that we did in previous question, which is 6.2 meters per second squared. And so then I know final velocity is supposed to be 16.7 squared equals 0 squared plus 2 times 6.2 times d. Now this is where I want to show you. So 16.7 squared would be 16.7 times 16.7, which is 278.89 equals to 12.4 times d, and d would equal 278.89 divided by 12.4, 22.5 meters. Right, so this is a second option, and they're both fine. Option 2. I want to emphasize that the difference in the answer by 0.1 is not as important. That has to do with how I typed it into a calculator and all of that. But I think that this should hopefully give you an idea how to go about it.